Have you ever had one of those days where you find yourself in a place that you never thought you'd be in, doing something you never thought you'd be doing, and you kind of wonder to yourself, how in the world did I get here? Well, I'm having one of those days right now. I mean, I find myself on a TED Talk stage, giving a speech on a Saturday morning that previously I looked forward to sleeping after a long week. And I kind of wondered to myself, how did I get here? But I'm far from a stranger from these kinds of days, and I got a few of them, and let me tell you, they come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. I remember a day when I woke up at 3 in the morning in the jungles of Montefiore for a hike, where we spent the early hours traversing it, and I had for breakfast, I remember, a cup of black coffee. I remember a day where I was the host of a mini documentary that was shot at the back of a very questionable gas station somewhere in the province of Kabuntong. I still don't know where that place is, when I was there for a community project. I remember a day when I was on a stage similar to this one, with my guitar, playing a song that I wrote to an audience of kids in a small school near the Thai border. More on that in a bit. I remember a day when I first launched my first publication, a research magazine made possible with the help of many talented young authors in many different fields. It was the first time that I had my name in a book. I remember a day when I was making tea at 2 in the morning in the kitchen of a college dorm after I had spent the entire day and night finishing my film photography project in the small American town that I studied in as a foreign exchange student at the time. These were wild days, and in reflecting on them, in remembering these things, I realized that from my life, since my beginnings as a boy from Battambang to myself now, as a young manager of one international organization living here in the capital city, my life has never been a straight line. It's more like a tree. You know how tree branches have those smaller mini branches? Well, for me, those would be grown from all the side adventures that I've taken myself to. And in all those little adventures, I found that I've defined myself in more than who I was. I found that I was a scholar, I was a photographer, a very, very amateur musician, an advocate, and many, many more things. And in reflecting on all those little detours that I had, I realized something. That in myself, in pursuing all those diverse, those crazy, those contradictory experiences, I realized that I've been able to procure myself many precious memories of wonderful people and amazing places that I never thought I'd be able to see and experience. And they have made my life just that much sweeter, and the tree of my life just that much greener. They've made me more than who I was. And my friends, this is the idea that I want to share with you today. And I suppose we can start by taking a first look at how adventures start. Adventure to me is kind of like a tree. I like using trees as metaphors, okay? Trees grow from seeds that we plant, but adventures start from the choices that we make. And I'm not talking about the big, grand choices like the classic trope in movies where a character makes a big choice and their life changes because of it. They go on a big adventure and stuff. Because we don't live in movies, we don't get a chance to make those choices. I'm actually talking about the smaller choices, those that seem insignificant, those that we make every single day and any given day. Why focus on the smaller things, the smaller choices? Because my friends, small choices, in my experience, have a really funny tendency to be life-changing. In my case, I'll share something that surprised me to this day. In my case, it was the experience of my decision to pick up a guitar and write a song. It was really crazy. So for context, this was late 2020. I was an active part of an environmental advocacy project, a 4-year-long one, that would have the goal to basically get people to have more positive behavior towards environmental issues, right? Typical boring stuff. And this was the early stage of the project, so we were still kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do we spread this message to people? And one day I had the idea, what if I share that message through a song? So with the little experience that I had and all the ambition in the world, I decided to write a song. At first, it was shared with just the internal team. They liked it, so I played this on smaller stages at the time. But then it started picking up. I remember I played the song to my local friends in the indigenous communities in Montefiore when we were there at the time. And the international team involved in the project were also there as well. They liked it. So as we started going on more and more of these community visits, I found myself being known as the guitar guy, even though that was not my job at all. I played the song again, and again to more communities in the province, the capital city, you name it. And at this point, it was reaching people that I never thought it could reach. It was amazing to me, and I thought that was the end of it. But then one day, I got an invite, a very mysterious one, to play that song for charity for a small school near the Thai border in the city of Bai Bai. So I thought to myself, I mean, I got this far with this little song. What's the harm in making one more crazy choice? So I did. I went there, and my audience was almost 500 kids from the city's landfill area. They were laughing, they were cheering, they were singing along to the lyrics that I'm not terribly sure they fully understood, but they loved it. And they made me feel like I was more than who I thought I ever was. I felt like a real musician, and mind you, I was very, very far from that. And I thought that was the end of it, but no. You see, back at the school, I had met its founder, one of the kindest women I've ever met. And as fate would have it, I had the chance to meet her again when I studied in the United States as an exchange student. She introduced me to the Cambodian community there. One thing led to another, and I ended up playing that same dang song that I wrote in my bedroom, never knowing how far it would go, to a bunch of folks at a campfire in St. Paul's, Minnesota. And then a couple of days later, in the Cambodian church community in Palm Beach, Florida. It was all very surreal to me. And in the midst of last year, when the project that started this whole crazy journey had ended, I remember feeling so sad that I shed a couple of tears when I heard that same song playing in the background as the project's event concluded, marking the end of a 4-year journey that had taken me across the forests, the cities, the mountains, and even across continents. I can honestly say that music has changed my life forever. I now play more than 5 instruments, and I, in my spare time, still play for charity. Funny little choices can really be funny little life-changing. I had never thought that would be possible. Now, after hearing that, you might be tempted to go out and make those little choices yourself. But I know it can be hard sometimes to even know what choice you have at your disposal to possibly make. That's why exploration is a thing. But I also know that exploration is a very peculiar thing. It is as often a question as it is an answer in and of itself. So I want to share with you one of the ways that I really like to look at exploration. A simple mindset, so to speak. It is that in every single time we open ourselves to exploring things, every time we try something new that we didn't know, we quite literally become more than who we are. What the heck do I mean by this? Well, imagine, if you will, in your entire life, you have never tried gardening, for example. That's the case for me. And one day you decided to try it for 15 minutes because you don't want to commit yourself to it. That's perfectly fine. Do you know what you've done in that small window of time? In that brief window of time, you have made a choice and you assumed the life of someone completely different from yourself. You assumed the life of a version of you who does gardening. And if after that brief stint of doing that thing, maybe something clicked. Maybe you end up liking that thing and you pick up gardening as a hobby. And I would say, there it is. You got a new hobby. You found a part of yourself you never thought was even there. You found another thing for your heart to love. And how beautiful is that? You become more than who you were just 15 minutes prior. But Vic, I hear you. What if I don't like the thing? What if it's just a waste of my time? And I hear you. But you can still walk away from that knowing that you planted a beautiful little flower. Knowing what it takes to take care of that pretty little garden that you probably admire once or twice after you walk or you drive past it. And in fact, I know exactly what this feels like. So I was a student in Georgia College in a city called Millersville, a small town in the American South. In our second campus, we have 2 campuses, we have this beautiful little garden. And on a lot of different evenings, I would take the bus, I would join the local gardening club, and we would go there to do, garden stuff. Clear up the weeds and shrub, planting things, pick things. It was wonderful. And it showed me how terrible I was at the gardening. Impressively enough, I managed to cut myself at least 5 times. I've ruined at least 2 of my shirts, and I got bitten by at least 3 different colonies of ants. I mean, impressive stuff, really. And considering the amount of plant life that I accidentally destroyed and obliterated as I attempted to take care of them, realized that I did not have the affinity to be a gardener. But I still saw in doing that the joy that it had brought people who do these things, the hard work that it took to make it happen, and the amazing sense of community that it had fostered to those who participated in that activity. I got something from it, even if it wasn't quite my thing. It's beautiful. Now, you might be thinking again, okay, you've attempted to sell me the idea that exploration has no promises. You never know what you're going to get from it. But exploration is also scary. Even though it might bring you good things, it's scary, it's uncertain. And if you think that way, well, you and I would be in perfect agreement. It is scary. Exploration is inherently risky. In fact, life is inherently risky. Look, the fact is, life is a balance between the risk and the reward. For the many moments of failure that you might inevitably stumble across, there's also moments of triumph. For every moments of doubt and unclarity and confusion, there is moments for discovery. Realistically, it's a probability thing, but it's also a matter of perspective as well. I remember many years ago, I was in 8th grade at the time, and I was going to go to my first public speaking competition. I hated public speaking at the time. I think it sucked. I think I sucked at it. I lived in Manabong at the time, so I had to travel to Phnom Penh here to compete. So that was another hurdle. I didn't want to go. I would surely fail, I told myself. My parents had to drag me to the bus to get me to go, to convince me really hard. Of course, I couldn't say no to them. So I went anyways, and guess what? I failed. I mean, that's not a terrible surprise to me then and now, to be honest. I tried something new and I failed. I never thought I would pick up public speaking again. But could you also guess what happened at that exact point in my life? Just when and where I first discovered my love for public speaking? Go on, take a guess. You win $1 million. It was on that exact stage that I fell at. And now, fast forward a couple of years, I'm giving a TED Talk. It's funny how life works sometimes, but that's what can happen with exploration. Extraordinary things, really. And I've applied this principle with pretty much everything that I've done in my life. When I applied for that program to the United States that I always thought I would never get. When I applied for that job that I never thought I would be able to be even considered for. When I dared to reach for the stars or whatever. It has helped me through thick and thin, through failure and success. It is important for us to remember that there is a duality to possibility. It can be so easy to think that everything can go wrong. But my friends, for every chance that things can go wrong, there's an equal, and I would say more often, that there's a chance that everything can go extraordinarily right and amazing things can happen. It is when we change our perspective of viewing the world this way that I find we open ourselves to a lot of different things. The world becomes, changes from one being full of risk to being one full of opportunities. And it really does changes a lot of things for us. It forces us to be more. And now this is something a little bit personal to me. But sometimes I would sit in my room on a quiet day and I would look at my instruments. I would look at my cameras. I would look at all the pictures, the memories that resulted from all the funny little choices that I made throughout my life. And I would feel so very grateful for them. For all the friendships, the perspectives, and the experience that they have brought me throughout these years that have really have changed my life as I do. I chose to be more than myself by making these choices, not because I want to be better than anyone else, or even better than myself, honestly. I just took these out of curiosity, to be honest with you. But sometimes that is all it takes to make these choices. To be more is not the adversity of pursuing constant self-improvement. Sometimes that's get very tiring, honestly, and you can find improvement in other avenues as well. To be more is simply to open yourself to the world of possibilities and choices, and openly embracing that making these choices could change who we are, what we do, and the direction that we're heading. Sometimes that's scary, but that is the price that you take in exploration. And my friends, our lives are far too complex and our world is far too full of stories and possibilities for us to simply stick to a given script, a simple script. and not venture into the foggy unknown that might be scary, but might lie beyond is the adventure of a lifetime. So I implore you, be outrageously curious about things. Be curiously courageous to try it out, and be courageously hopeful when things seem like they might not go right. Most important of all, be more. Thank you.